Okay, kickstart your metabolism with Dr. Greg. I'm really excited for this one. I like to say I've been working on this since October. This is the first time I've been like done with a talk, like completed the PowerPoint, my notes, everything ready to go like 2 weeks before. Usually there's been times I've been scrambling like hours before to get everything done. It's just because I'm excited about this. But I want to start with kind of I guess, a disclaimer here. We're really just our principle of what we're starting off of, our mission. So the main goal here is like, we're not a weight loss clinic. I'm not a weight loss doctor. The entire point is getting you healthier, becoming healthy overall. Because when you're healthy, a good side effect of that or consequence of that is, yeah, you're going to lose weight. Yeah, you're going to trim up. Yeah, you're going to feel better. You're going to exercise more. By living these 5 essentials, by living your best lifestyle, that's where disease process, obesity, a bigger waist, all these things, they can start to go away over time. Because the main premise of chiropractic, these 5 essentials of max living, is that God put a power in your body to heal, and that if you just remove interference and do what you know needs to be done, and some things you may learn here that new that needs to be done, that's what's going to help you the most. So let's get started. My story with this is in October 2022. So I still remember it. Well, let's go back to September. The border was closed going to Canada. Even if you were vaccinated, there was a lot of red tape to get in. Testing, they had an app that you had to fill out. There was a lot going on just to get in and out of Canada. So basically, since the last time we were there as a family was December 2019. So it had been almost 3 years since I'd been up there. Now, this is my hometown. I grew up there up to the age that I was 22 years old, really, or even 24 years old, that I was like officially done with school and things like that. So it was emotional. It was emotional, and we all were away from family, and there was a lot of things that were lost over those pandemic years, and it was difficult to have that separation. Now, fortunately, people from Canada were able to come visit me, but I wasn't able to go up. So when they said that the border restrictions were lifting, even for those who were not vaccinated, for everyone, like all border restrictions were lifting, I was excited. We picked a date, October 20th. It was a Thursday. We were headed up. And I mean, I was up, waking up in the middle of the night. It was like Christmas Eve. I was excited. The kids were excited. We had a countdown going on the entire month. And we go up there. This is Thursday, so we drive all day. We leave at 8:30 in the morning, get there close to 5 o'clock. Just go to a house full of people, just excitement, seeing friends, family, cousins. It was just such a great time. So you see I'm wearing this shirt here, Toronto Maple Leafs. So that night, there's a hockey game. Toronto's playing, I believe it was the Dallas Stars. And so the game comes on. And to be fair to me, I have not put this shirt on. It's already a tight shirt. It's an athletic fit shirt. Even on my best day, it's going to be a tight fit. I go to the back. I put this shirt on. As soon as I put it on, I'm like, oh, this is a little tight. This picture doesn't even do it justice. You can see I got a bit of the belly going on here, but like it was very tight. I had to suck in as hard as possible just to like not show a huge belly. So I walk out. A few of my friends are there, family and stuff. And immediately people are I could see people looking at my belly. And my one friend just like looks at me, points. He's like, hey, what's going on there? I'm like, oh boy. So throughout the night, people are pointing that out, that I gained weight. And it was obvious to them because for some of these people, I hadn't seen them in 3 years. I knew I had gained a few pounds. They pointed it out, but it really started before that. And it was something that didn't happen overnight. It was over the course of months. Funny story, just a few weeks before we made the trip, I had my 2 boys, Michael and Jake. We were at Learn to Skate in Lancaster. And they had a night where they invited the parents out onto the ice. So I'm on ice skates for the first time in a while. I'd taken about a year off of playing hockey regularly. So I played hockey in Lancaster. I played in the league for like 4 or 5 years. But I took a year off when we had our 3rd child because the times didn't line up with, getting a baby and 3 kids to sleep at night. I wasn't going to leave my wife in the lurch at that time of night. So anyways, the night goes on, we're skating. And they said, okay, parents, we're going to have a race with the parents. And I get excited. I'm like, oh, I could win going backwards. I'm so fast. I get really excited my boys are going to watch me just mop the floor with these guys. And so I line up next to what I think is the next competitive guy that, he might have a chance, but I'm like, oh, I'm going to win for sure. So it was from one end of the ice to the other. And she says, okay, 1, 2, 3, go. And this guy, he gets off to a good start. I'm like, oh, he's pretty quick. And I'm starting to move and starting to skate. And all of a sudden, I'm like, normally I would start moving faster at this point. My legs would usually be moving faster, but like, what's going on? And I lost the race. I'm like, I'm having like, and listen, who cares, right? It's public skating. It's with kids. It's with parents. Nobody cares except me. I'm like having an existential crisis as I'm skating around. I'm out of breath. I'm winded. And I'm just going through like, oh my gosh, I'm out of shape. I've gained weight. And then I go up to Canada 2 weeks later. It's being pointed out to me. So it was in that moment, throughout that weekend that I was up in Canada, there was 4 different people at 4 different times that told me that I gained weight. In fact, there was at one point, I was walking with my sister at one point outside, and we passed by someone that I had not seen in a very long time. And she goes, oh, hey, do you remember Greg? He's home from the States. He's finally made it home. And he looks at me, he goes, geez, he's getting fat. And then he just kept walking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what a day. So driving home back into the States, I was like a flip switch. And I'm like, this is not going to happen. Like, I am going to make sure that I'm going to lose weight. So started, you can see here, new picture. This is me just a few weeks ago, the start of March. I dropped 21 pounds. I'm actually down 22 pounds now. And I'd like to say it was easy. It's just hard work. And what I'm going to talk about is just that it can be done. It takes time. The latest picture, this was me someone just drew on the screen. Please don't draw on the screen. What is that? Okay. So you can see here on the left, I was at over 25% body fat. Now, I'm not a tall guy, so that's a little heavy. That is heavy for me, 25%. You can see the dad bod here. This is Jocelyn on the left, the little daughter. And then on the right is my new picture. I just took this today. Actually, you can see how cute she is, how big she's getting. Yeah, I've lost a lot around my waist. I've lost 2 belt loops worth. And I'm down 2 sizes in my pants. I can put on a belt and pants again. It feels good. So I want to get into like how I did that. But the first thing I want to say is that success is not a straight line. One of the common things people have said to me is just like, well, they'll look at me and they say, okay, well, you're the doctor, or you're young, or you're this, or you're that. And they'll say, well, that's easy for you. And I can tell you, and most of you, if you've lost weight before in your life, you know what I'm talking about. Success is not a straight line, okay? It looks more like this on the right. There was weeks where I lost weight. There was weeks where I had gained weight. There was weeks where I was frustrated. There was weeks where I thought about giving up and giving in and just giving into the different excuses that I had. But over time, if you give it time, and that was the biggest thing that I learned, is just time and consistency, you start to move up the ladder and start to move this way with your health. Okay. So first thing you got to ask yourself is, what are your goals? So what are your goals for your health? What do you want to achieve? So that's the first thing. What do you want? I'm assuming since you're here, you want to lose weight or you want to trim up, right? You want to be more mobile. You want your back to feel better. You don't want to be stiff. You want to be able to put on a swimsuit. You don't want to feel self-conscious when you put on certain clothes. That's what people want. Okay. So what's it going to take to do that? Well, the first thing is setting, most people have seen this, SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So here was my thinking. When I first did this, I started out late October. My goal was to lose at least 15 pounds by Christmas. Now that goal, okay, it was specific. Yeah, it was measurable. Was it attainable? No, it wasn't. It wasn't attainable and it wasn't timely. Because what I had to learn was consistent weight loss is about 1 to 2 pounds a week. I was basically asking myself to lose more than 2.5 to 3 pounds a week during that time. And that was not attainable or timely. And so when people set goals that aren't SMART, S-M-A-R-T, that's going to lead to frustration. And so many times, like one example was today, I was talking to people about I was quizzing people, what's the average amount of time it takes to lose a certain amount of weight? So it's 1 to 2 pounds a week is considered sustainable. And a lot of people this week have been saying things like, oh, I want to lose weight for the summer. I want to get into summer shape. And they want to start now in the end of March or starting in April. They're like, hey, the sun's out, it's nicer, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay, how much weight do you want to lose? I want to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds. I'm like, okay, well, based on the time and what's considered attainable, your goal shouldn't be for the summer. It should actually be for October or November. You guys see what I'm getting at? So right off the bat, you got to make sure, because number one reason people stop is they get frustrated. They feel like they aren't hitting their goals. Well, right away, you have to set these SMART goals in place, realize it's going to take time, and set a time frame. You got to spread it out more to give yourself that time to lose the weight, to give yourself that margin, to give yourself that wiggle room, realizing that there's going to be weeks that are good, there's going to be weeks that are bad. But in the grand scheme of things, if you give yourself enough time, that's what's going to make the difference. Okay. And you really got to start with why. Excellent book by Simon Sinek. It's actually called Start With Why. A great read. The main premise is that you have to have your core motivations at heart, and you got to take them into account if you want to pull this off. So he who has a big enough why can endure almost any how. Now, for me, my why was pretty superficial when you look at it, but it was big for me. My why was I went up to Canada. I hadn't seen people in a long time. I was basically embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I had four different people tell me that I had gained weight, laughing, joking around, and it wasn't fun. So my why was I never want that to happen again. I never want to be embarrassed like that again, because I am leading this office. I'm leading this movement with patients. I got to be the one who's healthy. I got to be the one who's trim and doing that. I got to basically lead by example. And if I'm not leading by example, how can I tell people where to go, based on, how can I tell people where to go if I'm not going there myself, right? How can I tell people about losing weight and things like that if I'm not doing it myself? Okay, excellent story. I love this. So this is something you can look up. There's a couple great videos on YouTube you can watch with this too. So this is Mike Tyson, a story of Mike Tyson, who he first lost to. So if you know anything about Mike Tyson, is when he entered the ranks of the heavyweight division in boxing in the mid 1980s, this guy was basically unstoppable. I mean, he was not only beating like world-class fighters, but I mean like embarrassing these guys. Like he looked like a man fighting young boys. He was a beast. He was an amazing athlete. He's one of the top 10 boxers of all time. But when you look up who he first lost to, it was a 48-1 underdog named James Buster Douglas. Now, the story with Buster Douglas, they asked him, so he knocked out Mike Tyson. I believe it was in the 10th round. He was also the only fighter to ever get knocked down by Mike Tyson and ever get back up. Now, days before, so this fight took place in Tokyo, Japan. So he left weeks before the fight to finish his training, get acclimated to that time change and weather and altitude and everything like that. His mother had cancer. And weeks before the fight, his mother told ESPN, basically told the media, that she had a vision that her son was going to beat Mike Tyson. And then a day or two before he left to go to Tokyo, his mother passed away. And he says here in this quote, "That was my mom. She raised me to be strong. I felt in a sense it made me more determined because she meant more to me than anything, anybody. I wasn't going to let her down." So Buster Douglas had a huge why, a big why. It was his mom. And that why was stronger than any punch. It was stronger than any knockdown. It was stronger than any adversity. It was stronger than people laughing at the fact that his mom would even think that he could beat Mike Tyson, because he did it. And the reason he did it is because he had that core motivation, that why. So for you, what I would recommend is to start to get back to your why. Now, it can change over the course of years. Like for some people, it can be as simple of like, I don't want to look this way anymore. Or it can be, I want to be there for my grandkids. I want to be there for my kids. I want to walk my daughter down the aisle. I want to be able to go golfing. I want to be able to enjoy retirement. These are all big whys. And that's when things get tough, when things aren't easy, when you feel like reaching for the chips or the late night snacks and things like that. That's where you go back to your big why. Remember that so that you can pull off what you want to pull off. All right. And at the end of the day, here's the thing. You have to fix your lifestyle. You know, this is, again, this is not a diet. This is not a quick fix. This is changing your lifestyle. And a couple people even today, they're like, oh, are you still on your diet? And I'm like, really? Like, it's not a diet. I'm not deprived at all. I'm eating 3 full meals a day. I eat for most days 2 snacks in between. And sometimes I have a healthy dessert too. So I feel nourished. I feel full, but I don't feel overstuffed or anything like that. I'm not hungry. I'm not depriving myself. I'm not starving myself. Okay, so here's a quote I came up with. You cannot medicate, supplement, or biohack your way out of a problem that you lifestyled your way into. Meaning there's no quick fix, there's no cheat codes, there's no shortcuts. It just takes you fixing your lifestyle and moving consistently and timely towards those goals that you have. And this is where living the 5 essentials comes into play. And every talk that I do, whether it's on toxicity, spring cleaning, exercise and movement, your mindset and stress levels, nutrition, spinal alignment, it all starts with these 5 essentials. And what I want you to do is look at each of these 5 essentials. And I want you to grade yourself, A through F. How would you grade yourself on each one? Because wherever you're lacking, that's what's holding you back. For me, if I were to grade myself back in October, my spinal alignment, I had gotten my x-rays taken, my spinal alignment would be a B+ or A-. Like I was good shape spinally. My nutrition, now again, I'm comparing me to me. I would put that at a C-. I was eating too much. I was eating too many portions. I was eating too many carbs. I was just careless with my food. My mindset was actually pretty good outside of not really thinking about my nutrition too much. I felt good. My mindset was good. I've done a lot of work with counseling and life coaching and things like that over the years. Things were doing well there. My exercise has been much more honed in and better. I was probably working out about 3 times a week. I've since bumped that up to 5 times a week. Toxicity, this is something over the years that we've changed a lot. We have a reverse osmosis filter, all the personal care products, whether it's shampoos, conditioners, lotions, shave creams, laundry detergent, dishwasher detergent, dish soap, hand sanitizer, all these things we get from clean sources. Okay, so I've made a ton of changes over the years in these, and you can look at all these different essentials, and the first thing you can do is get overwhelmed. You could be like, oh my gosh, there's so many changes that I have to make. I'm not sure what to do. But you just have to start small and start making changes and start with one of them. So looking at these, again, grade yourself on these. Now, here's an easier way. If you don't want to sit here and grade yourself or you're not sure, what I want you to do is pull out your phone. Pull out your phone. And you can hit this QR code. So what you do is you open your camera app and you hover over the QR code, and that is going to pop up a link. And this is what's called a lifestyle risk questionnaire. So what it's going to do is you're going to take about 15, 20 minutes or so, depending on how long you do it. And you're going to go through and answer these questions. Answer the questions, and it's going to give you a score, an overall score. And it's also going to give you a score on each of the 5 essentials. And then that way, that can go back to you. That can also come back to us. And if you're willing, we can sit down with you and go over areas that you're lacking or areas that you need to focus on, and it'll just give you an idea of what you need to work on and what you need to do. Because you got to start out knowing, okay, where are my weaknesses, where are my shortcomings, what's holding me back. Okay. All right, so let's get into it. Weight loss. Nobody likes looking at these pictures. Muffin tops, love handles, right? This is something we want to get rid of. So when it comes down to it, it's not just about magically shrinking your belly. This is about burning fat. So what is fat? Fat is a good thing. Fat is there as an energy storage in your body. It's an energy store so that you can start to burn it in times of need. So when, in the days of our ancestors, they didn't have such a ready supply of food. They didn't have supermarkets they could go to. They didn't have farmers markets. They didn't have a fridge full of food. So having fat stored on their body was an absolute necessity, because there could be days or even a couple days or even a week where they might not get much food. So that fat is a huge plus to how our bodies work. So we want to start to burn that fat. Now, you could look at this just as simple as calories in and calories out. And you could certainly do something like that, counting calories. But I want to take it a step further in making sure that the calories that you get are of quality, so that you're getting quality food in, and that you get your metabolism or your body's ability to burn energy. You get that ramped up so that you're going to start burning that fat over time. Because there's some of you listening right now where you can feel even trapped in your body. So you can feel like you're doing everything right and you're still not burning that fat. So there's a reason why that is. But I'm very pragmatic. I like to keep things as simple as possible. When it comes down to it, it's basically this. It's going to be 80% nutrition and it's going to be 20% exercise. Again, 80% nutrition, 20% exercise. And it's been funny over the last 5 months. People notice, hey, I noticed you're losing weight. Like, what are you doing differently? You're exercising more? And I always give them the same answer. I'm like, dude, it's 80% nutrition. And people have that same look on their face. It's kind of like that sinking look, like, oh, yeah. Oh boy. Yep. It's simple, but it works. So think of it this way. For those of you who your knees are sore, your back hurts, you're having trouble exercising, this is good news. Because again, it's 80% nutrition. They even say, I do a power yoga, and there's an instructor, and he's huge into fitness, but he always says, you can't out-train your nutrition. You can't out-train your nutrition. So you want to focus first, your abs, your six-pack, that's not made in the gym, it's made in the kitchen. So this is where you want to focus your energy. All right, so let's get back to the basics. Number one step is you want to form habits and respect time. So most people underestimate how long it will actually take them to form these new habits and reach their weight loss goals. So let's talk about weight goals again. I talked about this earlier, but let's go back to that. A healthy weight loss is between 1 to 2 pounds per week. Now, this is on average, right? Because for example, my first month that I went into this, I probably lost 7 to 10 pounds in my first month. So my average was a lot higher than the 1 to 2 pounds a week. But over the course of time, obviously that can slow down. Maybe some weeks it's you didn't lose anything, or some weeks it's 0.5 pounds, or some weeks it's 1 pound. Typically, you want to average it between 1 to 2 pounds a week, because for most people, depending on their genetics, any more than that, and that can lead to your body rebounding. You hear people, they lose weight really, really quickly, and then their bodies can rebound. And one of the reasons that they rebound is because their basic habits that they have. And that's what we'll talk about next. So listen, here's the thing. You want to say you want to lose 20, 25, 30 pounds. Well, you start putting the math on that, that's 7 months. So for me, I've lost 22 pounds. That's taken me 5 months. It's not a short amount of time. This is a long time that it takes. So you have to commit, and you have to commit long-term. Quiz time. How long does a habit take to form? Most common answer, people say 21 days, a month. Oh, that's what the books tell you. How many books out there are like 21 days to reset your brain, 30-day challenge, mindset challenge. It's always 21 days and 30 days. So did you know that only the top 5% of people in habit forming, only the top 5th percentile can form a habit in 21 days. So 21 days is the minimum to form a habit, but the average person or the 50th percentile, a habit takes 66 days to form. So here's the other thing. People get frustrated because they're like, oh, I'm doing all this stuff. It's difficult. It's hard. It's hard to change my nutrition. It's hard to change my exercise routine. Correct, it is. And if you look at this graph, it says, here's the discipline that's needed. And the more time that you give it, your willpower or the amount of mental effort that you have to put into these habit changes will actually decrease over time. And at this critical formation here, that's when the habit forms. And this is when it becomes automatic or autonomic. Like brushing your teeth. You don't have to think about brushing your teeth. You just do it. Like you go to bed at night, you're like, oh, I forgot to brush my teeth. Oh, I got to get up. I got to go do that. Right? It's just an automatic thing that you do throughout your day. So you have to give yourself time in order to pull this off. So this isn't, for most people, again, this isn't a 1 month thing. For me personally, I would love to think, and my ego would tell me that I would be in the top 5% of people. I thought I was going to form the habits in 21 days. Thinking back, it probably took me about 90 days for the habits to form. It took me a solid 3 months. Now, one of the things that hampered me, and again, this is an excuse, but I'm going to use it. I started, I think, at the hardest time of the year. I started before Halloween. So we went through Halloween. We have a huge amount of birthdays, huge number of birthdays in our family during that time. So 2 of our children and my wife are all born between Halloween and Christmas time. Okay, so there's birthday parties. Then you get into Christmas parties. We traveled up again to Canada, actually twice for me, twice more during that time. So holiday parties, Christmas, New Year's, getting into the new year, all things like that, time changes, right? 2 different time changes, actually. So all these excuses were in place. So for me, it took time. It's only been since about February, the first week of February, second week of February, where I'm like, okay, this is actually kind of easy now. I'm used to this. This is just my new way of living. And now, like, how I eat and exercise and everything, it's just completely normal to me. I don't even think about it anymore. This is just my way of living. It's my new lifestyle because I've passed this threshold. So great book to read. If you're interested, it's called The One Thing. I want to talk about some of the principles in this book that are huge too, we can use to weight loss. Okay. The second thing that I want you to do. This is important. I could argue this is the most important part of the talk. So if you're writing down, you want to write this down. You have to find your one thing, because you can look at all the steps that I'm going to talk about tonight and you can say, okay, but where do I start? Where do I begin? How do I even start this? I want to lose 30 pounds. Okay, it's going to take 7 months. Where do I start? You have to find the first domino. Once you hit over that first domino or that one thing, it's going to start a progression of knocking over bigger and bigger things in your life. So most people have heard of the 80-20 rule. 20% of the effort is going to give you 80% of the results. Okay. So I'm going to give you a few examples. I want you to pick your own one thing. And it's just one thing. It's not 2, it's not 3, it's 1. Here was mine. This was my one thing when I went into this. I'm going to cut out refined carbs. So for me, that was crackers, chips. We were doing like brownie mix, ice cream at the time. Also, I was doing like these coffee things that had a bit of sugar in it, waffles, any of the Simple Mills products. Not that Simple Mills products are bad, but they just had more sugar than I should have been having. So for me, my one thing was, I'm only going to do one thing. I'm going to cut out refined carbs. That's where I'm going to start. For some of you, it might be ramping up your workouts. It's like, if I'm going to lose weight, so you ask yourself the question, if I could only do one thing such that everything else would be easier or unnecessary, what would I do to lose weight? Okay, I'm going to cut out refined carbs, or someone could say I'm going to work out 5 times a week. Or they could say something like, I'm going to stop eating at 7 p.m. Or I could cut down my portion sizes. Some people say that could be your area where you need to correct. Or you're just going to, you know what? I'm just going to start walking 30 minutes every day. You could say that you want to eat more protein when you hear what I have to say about protein later on. You could say that you want to do the advanced plan and you're going to do that for 30 days. That's going to be your one thing. That's where you're going to springboard off of. Or you could be saying, you know what, I'm done drinking alcohol. I'm going to stop drinking beer. I'm going to stop drinking wine. I'm going to stop drinking liquor. That's my one thing. So think of what yours is, and you just pick that one thing. That's your first domino. That's where you start. That's your starting line. You start doing that, and then things are going to start to happen in your life. And then here's the other thing too, and I'm going to throw myself under the bus. I'm very guilty of this. I was checking the scale a lot, like in the morning and at night, and you should not do that. I know that. I know you shouldn't check the scale very often. Did you know that your weight can easily fluctuate 3 to 4 to 5 pounds a day? Heck, if you just drink like a big glass of water, like how many ounces are in a pound? 16 ounces, right? So if you drink a 12-ounce glass of water, there's almost a pound that you just added to your body. So checking the scale multiple times a day or even multiple times a week is a fool's game. You're only going to frustrate yourself because in the morning you're going to be lighter, in the evening you're going to be heavier. It's just the way that it is. Especially when you first start out, your water weight will change. So typically when you cut down on refined carbohydrates like I did, hydrates, they hold water. So right away people lose that quote unquote easy weight. The 5 to 7 pounds, for some people as much as 10 to 20 pounds. And you're like, hey, this is going really well. So you keep checking the scale because you see that rapid progression in weight loss. And that might be all well and good for the first 3 or 4 weeks, but as you go, you're only going to frustrate yourself. The other thing that is good to do, but again, you don't want to get obsessed with it or focus too much on the results, is tracking your macros, tracking your meals. It's good to know what you're doing. It's good to have an idea of how much carbs, protein, and fat that you're eating. So things like MyFitnessPal is a very popular way that you can track your calories, track your carbs, and you can see how much you're getting in. The issue is that you always want to focus on the work more than you're focusing on the results. The results will come with time. The results will come with time. They will happen, but you have to put the work in. Because again, I've been talking, I'm not going to throw people's names under the bus, but I've been talking to multiple people who have just started losing weight, even in the last 2 weeks, and they're already frustrated. They're like, I should be losing more weight. I'm like, listen, how much weight do you want to lose? 30 pounds. And I'll say, how long does that take again? 7 months. How long you been doing it? 3 weeks. Then why are you frustrated? If you know that it's going to take a certain amount of time, stop checking the scale so darn much. I would say if you can, check it once a week. Now, this is me preaching to myself. I need to stop checking the scale so much, okay? Because it's not smart. It's not good for your psyche. You want to focus on the work that you're putting in, not the results. And here's the last thing I'll say about this with getting back to the basics is, guys, do you really want to do it? Is it important to you? Someone reminded me of this quote just the other day, and it's just so good, from Hippocrates. This is 2,000 plus years ago. Before you heal someone, ask him if he's willing to give up the things that make him sick. Before you heal someone, ask him if he's willing to give up the things that make him sick. Are you willing to give it up? Are you willing to give up those chips, that bread, that alcohol, that sugar? Are you willing to give it up? And just be real with yourself. If you had asked me a year ago, you had to come up to me and say, hey, Dr. Greg, I noticed are you going to lose weight? I'd say, no, I'm not interested. I'm just living life. It wasn't important to me. So you have to ask yourself, is this really important to me? Do I really want to do it? Because if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But just realize that. But then don't get upset if you've gained weight. Don't get upset when you look at the scale. Don't get upset when you see the health outcomes that you're having, because it's not important to you enough yet. I had this conversation with someone recently, and I kind of just hit them between the eyes. They said, I want to lose weight too, but I don't want to give up the chips and stuff and the popcorn at the end of the night. And I just said pretty bluntly, I said, then you don't really want to lose weight. I mean, I'm just calling it how it is. If you're not willing to give it up, then you don't really want it. And that's okay. You just name that. You say, you know what? Maybe this isn't the season for you right now. That's okay. But if you want to do it, great. Let's get into it. Okay, so what are our two barriers here? First one is complacency and laziness. Straight up, this is most of us. That's where I was, complacent. I was just kind of going through the motions, not really focused on my nutrition, not really focused on my exercise, slowly over time gaining weight, not paying attention. Right? The other thing is laziness. There was many days where I had time slated out to exercise that I didn't. It was most of them. I would say over half. Like Tuesday, Thursdays are my guaranteed go-to, I'm going to work out days, and I was missing them more than 50% of the time. And I have no excuse for that. It was just laziness. It was just straight up, I don't feel like it. I don't want to. So these are two huge barriers for us, complacency and laziness. And then the second one is fear. The fear of failure. What if I say, and I've heard a few people say this, what if I say that I'm going to do this and I fail? What if I tell people, yeah, I'm doing this weight loss program and things are, I set this goal for myself, and you start telling people, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, what if it doesn't work out? What are they going to think of me? Or here's the other thing. It's not just the fear of failure, but the fear of success. This is a big one. Because with success, with losing weight in this, if you do lose weight, if you do adopt these different routines and these things start to happen, there's the responsibility that comes with that, right? Just like when let's just say you start making money, or you start a business and you start making money and you're making more money and things like that, and you start paying bills, you start paying off debt. Well, there's a responsibility that comes with taking care of that money and making sure that you don't lose it, making sure that you invest it properly. It's the same thing with your health. Once you start to get there, once you start to achieve those results, you got to maintain them. And some people, I can't tell you the number of people that say things like, well, if I start living this lifestyle, I'll just always have to do it. And I'm like, well, yeah, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious you should. That's good. So what you can do is you can flip this. You can flip the script on these two things. You can say to yourself, okay, I'm afraid of failing. Well, why? You just get to the root cause. I'm afraid that I won't be able to do it, or I'm afraid that I don't have the resources. I'm afraid. And start saying, like, instead of saying, what if I fail, start saying to yourself, what if I succeed? What if I do make this happen? What if I do reach my goals? Right? And just start to flip it in that way. All right, and here's another great one. Reasons or excuses. So this is what I've been hearing over the last few weeks. Number one, and I'm going to try to mind read you guys right now. Some of you may be thinking this right now. Okay, that's all well and good for you, Dr. Greg, but I just have a slow metabolism. Okay, here's another one. If I had $1 every time I heard this over the last few weeks, yeah, but just wait until you're 60, Dr. Greg. Just wait until you're 60. Just wait until you're 50. Okay, and here's what I said to someone the other day. They said, just wait until you're 60. And I'll say, oh, why? Have you tried a 5-month program that you've stuck to when you're 60 years old? Did you notice a difference versus when you're 40? And they're like, I'm not saying this to be mean, but just realize, like, maybe you haven't done anything at 60 and you're just blaming it on your age. Now, here's the thing, and what I'll share on the next slide, there's a reality to these things, and they can be reasons, but I just want to start to call out some stuff here to make you realize that these quick excuses that you hear yourself say or hear others say, maybe they're not all what they're made out to be. Here's another one. People say things like, and some of you may be thinking, you heard me say it's 80% nutrition, it's 20% exercise. Some people say, well, it's not always as simple. It's not always that simple. You're right. Maybe it's not always that simple, but you know what? Maybe it is. Maybe it is that simple. Next is I have insulin resistance. We could go into that with slow metabolism, right? Or people say things like my hormones are out of whack, or I have stress, things like that. Yes, that can be a reality, but that just might mean that you might have to work a little harder, or you guys might have to, dial in a little more. I don't have the motivation to do that. Then it might not be your time. If you don't have the motivation to do it, if you don't want to do it, I can't convince you to do it. A couple people have said that to me recently. I don't have the motivation to do that. You have to find the motivation. You have to find it from within. Here's one that drives me nuts. I've heard it a couple of times. People say, Dr. Greg, what are you going to talk about at your next webinar? And I'll tell them, they're like, oh, I already know that. Great. Then it's time to start doing it. That's what we're going to do now. We're going to get into the practicality here. All right. So what affects your metabolism? Your age and your genetics. All right. These are things that you cannot control. They're out of your control. We all know that. There are certain people in this world, they are blessed with an athletic body where they can eat pretty much whatever they want. They can exercise a little and their body's just going to burn it off, right? It's like they're a teenager for the rest of their life. There are other people where they look at a pizza commercial and they start to gain weight. You know, there is a reality to getting older. Does your metabolism slow down? Do your hormones change? Absolutely they do, right? These are things that you cannot control. So you can look at these things and recognize them and say, yes, this is how old I am, or this is the genetics that I have. And you can recognize those things, but you can't control them. So you don't want to allow them to dictate your decisions or your choices. So what things can you control? Your diet, your nutrition, your exercise, and your lifestyle. Pretty simple. These are the 5 essentials. You control these 5 essentials of health: your diet, your exercise, and the rest of your lifestyle. So you can control these things. This is where you want to focus your energy. Stop focusing it up here on the age and the genetics. You can name it. You can say you're 70 years old or 50 years old. You can say it all you want. You can't control it. You can tell me how big your mom was or your dad was, and you can tell me your couch potato and how slow your genetics are and yada, 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 and whatever. You can't control it. So let's focus down here on what we can control. So how do we do this? Simply put, in order to kickstart your metabolism, you've got to lose fat and gain muscle. So a common question that I've gotten is, what do you say to someone who has type 2 diabetes or a really slow metabolism, or they're older and their hormones are out of whack? This is going to sting a little bit, but I would say that your fat percentage is too high and your muscle percentage is too low. It might sound a little trite, it might sound a little oversimplified, but for the vast majority of people, I would say 80+% of people, that's going to be the case. You've got to bring your fat percentage down, because your fat is like a, it's an asleep tissue. It's not a dead tissue. It's just like a dormant tissue. It's not really doing much for you other than storing energy. It's not really burning energy. It's just storing it. Now, your muscle is a metabolic tissue. It demands a consistent energy supply from your body. So because of that, it's going to, when you have a higher muscle percentage, you're going to naturally have a higher metabolism. Your body's going to want more food, more calories to be able to supply that muscle. And when it doesn't get it, it's going to burn the fat off your body to give the energy to that muscle. So the more muscle you can build and the more fat you can burn, the better you're going to be with your metabolism. No matter where you're at, whether you're type 2 diabetic, whether you've been told you have a metabolic disorder, whatever you've been told, this is the basics of it. You have to lose fat percentage, you have to gain muscle. Now, for those of you who know you have those different conditions, there can be other things you need to do that's different than other people, and I'll talk about that later on, but this is kind of the basics of it here. All right, so how are we going to boost our fat loss? But we're going to do it the max living way. We're going to do it in a way that's sustainable. We're going to do it in a way that's healthy for the body, okay? So step 1 is you're going to switch to or focus on clean, whole food nutrition. So number 1, meat, eggs, and dairy. Okay, very simple. Meat is, we are designed, no matter, you're going to hear a lot of different things out there. Biologically, human beings are designed to eat meat and vegetables and fruits. We are designed to eat meat. There are certain things that we cannot synthesize on our own that we need from meat. One example would be vitamin B12 as an example. So meat, eggs, dairy, an excellent source of protein, of fat. It's going to fuel your body for success. Okay, number 2, this is very obvious, vegetables. Number 3, fruit. Now, some people would say, yeah, but I heard that fruit has a lot of sugar in it. Okay, the fruit it's a different type of sugar than just your regular, cane sugar and these simple sugars and things like that. Because it's stored in the fruit, it's a more complex sugar. It's not as going to be as high glycemic as just eating like straight up table sugar or even grains and things like that. But fruit also is chock full of vitamins, of minerals, of all kinds of different micronutrients that are essential for your body. So when you deprive yourself of fruit, it's not good. All right, and then other healthy carbs that we'll talk about. So things like quinoa, sourdough bread, as an example. These are other carbs that we can start to introduce once you start moving towards your weight loss goals, or right away if you're more into a maintenance program. And then really focusing your cheat foods into a more healthy manner. You see all these different athletes and celebrities who they're famous for having these different cheat days where they'll just eat an absorbent amount of calories and pizza and all this different stuff that looks like it would be so fun to eat. Well, you know what? You're not a celebrity athlete or anything like that. The vast majority of people just can't get away with having that much of a cheat day. So I am going to talk about doing like healthy cheats and having things that still taste good, but are good for you and are not going to blow up your weight loss goals. All right, so let's go through the 2 nutrition plans that you'll hear us talk about to get the nomenclature down. So the first is what we call the core plan. Core plan, I want you to think of maintenance for just people who want to just be healthy in general. So this is for health maintenance, for disease prevention. This is for moderate weight loss. So this is where you're eating, again, meat, veggies, fruits. You can also start to introduce some grains as well. It's very simple. You're getting out a lot of the junk and the junk food and things like that, but you're still eating food that's going to fuel your body, be very good for you. Now, the advanced plan, which I would recommend for people looking to lose weight, a substantial amount of weight, I would say any more than nearly 10 to 15 pounds, I would recommend starting with the advanced plan. You're going to be it's going to provide you with hormone repair. So people with weight loss resistance would do well with the advanced plan. Inflammation and disease management. Now, I'm not here to say that we're here to cure disease or anything like that, but when you give the body what it needs to do, the body's designed to heal itself. You're going to lose weight loss much more quickly. Now, I would also caution people, this is more of a short-term plan because you're going to be restricting things like fruits and things like that your body needs. So if you're going to do this, you're going to do this for a short amount of time. I did the advanced plan, just letting you know, for the first 6 weeks. The first about 6 weeks that I was doing my weight loss program, I was on the advanced plan. Okay, so what is the advanced plan? 3 basic changes. Sugar, as far as sugar and carbohydrates, you're going to be eliminating grains, sugars, and fruit, except for berries, grapefruits, and Granny Smith apples. So even healthy grains can rapidly turn to sugar, even things like sourdough bread, right? Even things like pineapple, which I love pineapple. I eat mango, I eat kiwi. These things are very good for you. I'm not saying these things are bad. Please hear me well in saying that. These things are not bad, but they are going to turn more quickly to sugar than other forms of fruits or vegetables, right? And this is a short term to get your body kick-started, get your metabolism going. You're cutting these things out, but it's not forever. All right, number 2, your protein. You want to replace your conventional protein sources with natural protein sources. Grass-fed beef, organic chicken, wild-caught fish, pasture-raised eggs. These are all very enjoyable changes, and we live in a wonderful area in Lancaster County that you can pull this off very easily. And thirdly, you want to correct the fats that you're eating. You want to remove the bad fats and replace them with good ones. And I'll go over that in just a second. All right, I wanted to go back to carbs here. I know what people are thinking. Here's the big question. Do carbs make you fat? Okay, so just like I've done many slides in the past and many talks in the past on fat, and I talk about good fat and bad fat, I want to talk about good carbs and bad carbs. All right. Now, as a rule of thumb, if God made it, it's good for you. If God didn't make it or it's been processed by man, I would say use extreme caution. So my answer is this: do carbs make you fat? I guess it depends on the type of carbs that you're eating and how much you're eating, right? It depends on that. So let's look at that. So let's look at the bad carbs and the good carbs. So here's the obvious thing. And I love this saying: don't blame the burger for what the bun did. So this would be like, your white bread, your chips, your candy, your yellow dyes, your frostings, your bagels, and your mocha frappa lattes and sugary drinks, and drinking your calories, beer, wine, liquor. These would all go on the left side of the category into, you could say, bad carbs. Okay, these are the things that are going to spike your blood sugar. They're going to cause you to rapidly gain weight. We all know that, like, we get that, right? But the thing is, it's like you've heard so much, like the ketogenic diet has been so popular and prevalent over the last few years that people are almost like afraid to eat carbohydrates. But carbohydrates are excellent for your body. So look on the right side. So like avocados, berries, quinoa, sourdough bread, vegetables. These are all good forms or good sources of carbohydrates. So when you're eating these things, that's going to be good for your body. It's going to fuel your body, especially if you're exercising, especially if you're working out more. These carbohydrates are going to help to refuel your muscles, to refuel the tank, so that you can hit your weight loss goals and your muscle gaining goals even faster. Okay, fixing your fats. So let's get into fats. To keep it simple, you want to get rid of like these vegetable seed oils. So like canola, vegetable oil, things like that. You want to move into avocado oil. It's very good. You can get this, Costco is a great place to get avocado oil. You can get like a big jug of it. Whole Foods, Giant. I mean, it's pretty much everywhere now. Number 2, organic coconut oil or organic extra virgin coconut oil. Very good for cooking. Extra virgin olive oil. Now, I wouldn't necessarily cook on high heat with extra virgin olive oil. You're going to use this more on like salads and as like a topping. So avocado oil, I love avocado oil because it's very versatile. It has a high smoke point, meaning it can be heated up to like 500 degrees Fahrenheit before it goes rancid. Coconut oil, you're going to keep that under 300 degrees Fahrenheit or less, so moderate heat. And then extra virgin olive oil, like that's more room temperature. Number 4, grass-fed butter. Okay, so grass-fed butter is excellent source of dairy. This is full of arachidonic acid. It's full of like GLA and all the different types of good fat. Excellent for your body. All right, and getting in, speaking of dairy, speaking of eggs, speaking of meat, how important eating enough protein is, especially if you're going to be losing weight. You've got to fuel your body to do it. And protein has a thermic effect on the body, meaning that when you bring calories that are protein in, it costs the body more energy to break it down. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not there's a difference between breaking down the food and assimilating it and digesting it. So red meat and eggs and wild-caught fish especially are actually really easily digestible by the body. So they're easily digested, okay? Now, assimilating is taking that food source and turning it into energy. And it costs the body a little more energy to turn the protein into fuel. Because of that, they call this the thermic effect of food, or basically it's heating your body up. So your body is heated by the food that you're eating. And so you have more of a thermic effect of food with protein. Therefore, you're going to burn more energy when you eat it, is the short answer. So here's a calculation for you. 0.5 gram per pound body weight of protein is your minimum, meaning recommend eating 80, for most people, 80 to 100 grams of protein a day minimum. I would gather that vast majority of you listening are not eating enough quality protein. And because of that, you're experiencing symptoms that can be very similar, that can mimic things like low thyroid. Now, I'm not saying that if you've been told you have low thyroid, I'm not saying that you don't, but if you look at the exact symptoms of low thyroid or even things like adrenal fatigue, and then you look at the same, those symptoms, and then you look at the symptoms of not eating enough protein, they're basically the same. Low energy, brain fog, brittle nails, hair loss, skin that's dry, pain in the joints and in the muscles. These are all signs of not eating enough protein. As a matter of fact, there's a patient of mine where she was just in a lot of pain. She said her nails were brittle, losing hair, things like that. And we did an account of how much protein she was eating in a day. She was only eating 7 grams of protein in a day. People are like, well, how's that even possible? Well, in the morning, she was just having like a cereal. She was having like a salad with nothing on it for lunch. And then for dinner, having just like pasta or some kind of carbs. And she was often skipping meals. So she went from eating 7 grams of protein a day. We got her eating more than 70 grams of protein a day. She thought her whole life changed. Her energy, her sleep, her mood, coming off medication. She felt like a whole new person. People like looked at her and it's like, you just look like beautiful. Your skin, everything just looks better. Because when you fuel your body for success, you give your body what it needs, it's going to respond for you. So here's a quick calculation. So typically you look at this and you say, okay, 20 grams, that's 20 grams of protein, which is about the average serving size for like a steak or chicken or fish. You know, each egg is about 7 grams of protein. So that would be just like 3 eggs on their own. Or like I do like 2 eggs and like 2 slices of turkey bacon in the morning. That's about maybe 30 grams of protein. So 20 grams times 3 meals, and then you have 2 snacks. So snacks could be like some sprouted nuts. You can have some meat. You can have cottage cheese. You have cheese or dairy, things like that. Those are going to be good sources of protein. And of course, things like whey protein powder, bone broth protein powder, collagen. These are all things where you can supplement your protein as well. But it's important, hugely important that you get the right source. So the debate between grain-fed cows and grass-fed cows. So grass-fed cows, this is very well researched now, where it's well known that grass-fed cows have a better ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids. Basically, you want your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio to be about 2-to-1 to about 6-to-1 at the most. That's very recognizable and digestible by the body, that type of fat that's coming in, that's in the meat. Now, grain-fed beef or like conventionally fed cattle, their ratios can be as high as 20-to-1 or 22-to-1. So the body responds to that, to those conventional meats many times with an inflammatory response. And it's almost like, what kind of meat is this? This is not, I'm not genetically designed to eat this. So therefore your body sees much of that as like a foreign invader or a foreign toxin, and your inflammation can actually go up just by eating the meat that you're eating. So you want to make sure that your first things first, you want to be going for grass-fed beef, okay? And great local farm, wonderful family. We know the family personally, wonderful people, right on Lidditz Road, Danda Farms. They've been doing organic grass-fed beef since like 1994. So they've been doing this a long time. When you go there, you can see their opening hours there. You know, type them into Google. They're right on Lidditz Road between Mannheim and Lidditz. You go there on the hours that they're open. They have a shed. You go in. They have freezers and chests filled with steak, with chicken, with beef, burgers. And that's where we get 90% of our meat is from there. So I would recommend going there. They're great people. And every patient that I've had go and get meat from there is nothing but pleased with the taste, the consistency, and the experience they get at Danda Farm. So I'd highly recommend going there to get your grass-fed beef or pasture-raised chicken they have as well. Speaking about eggs, common question I've been getting lately, like, don't they raise your cholesterol? Let's look at okay, I'm going to rant for a little bit here. It's funny to me when people say things like, I'll tell someone to eat like a food that's like known to be healthy, like grass-fed steak and eggs. And they turn to me and say, oh, well, isn't red meat bad for you? And what I feel like saying is, show me what you're eating through the day. I guarantee, and this, I'm not ranting at anyone personally here. This is just me, general population of people. Show me 80% of the crap that people are putting in their mouths, and you're going to sit and tell me that eggs are bad for you, or you're worried about that raising your cholesterol. Meanwhile, you're sucking down soda multiple times per day. You're feeding junk to your kids. You're putting sugar in your body, food dyes, colorings, glyphosate, all this stuff that's known to put garbage in your body, that's known to raise your cholesterol and your blood sugar. That's what's really messing up people's cholesterol levels. Okay. So what I would recommend is to make sure that you are eating eggs. You just want to get the right type of eggs. Now, you can tell them, one of the best ways to tell, when you crack an egg open, the yolk should be like a deep, dark yellow to orange consistency. The darker that it is, the more nutrition and more protein that chicken was getting, rather than like corn and grain. It was probably getting a lot of bugs and things like that, good protein source, and worms. You want the chickens to be eating that. So that's where, like, in general, going organic, the next step would be going pasture raised. And I have to show this picture. I think it's funny. I just got a t-shirt to bug my wife about this. Let's get yoked. So when you eat eggs, eggs are considered the perfect source of protein. They have all the essential amino acids. They have the omega-3 fatty acids. They have the omega-6. It's just, they're so good for you. Do you know that eggs are considered the perfect source of protein? So all other proteins are measured against eggs to see how good they are. So please eat eggs. They're great for you. All right. So what would this look like practically? Here's a typical day, like what I would eat. Now, for me, for breakfast, I can pretty much eat the same thing every day, and I'm fine with that. And I love this meal that I'm going to show you here. So typically I'll do 2 to 3 eggs scrambled because it's faster. I enjoy scrambled eggs. I do uncured organic turkey bacon. I get that at Whole Foods. I do 2 slices of that. I sometimes add shredded organic cheese to the eggs. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And then I have some kind of fruit. Now, by fruit, I mean like about a handful of fruit, whether it's mangoes, if they're available, kiwi. I love raspberries or strawberries. I add that fruit in there to get me a little bit of carbohydrate, get my brain going, get the minerals in there. It's great. Okay. Now, I love this ketchup. You can get it pretty much anywhere now. It's called True Made Foods Veggie Ketchup. So there's no sugar in it. It's sweetened with butternut squash. So it's got tomatoes, carrots, squash, and spinach in it. So it's all vegetable, and it actually tastes really good. So it's like a ketchup that you can actually eat and still be on the advanced plan. So I love it. It's a healthy cheat, right? Okay, for lunch, one of my favorite meals is the Max Living chicken salad. You can get this recipe at our office if you want. I make this, the kids love it. I think my kids being half Canadian, they love mayonnaise. I don't know if that's a Canadian thing or not. I love mayo. Primal Kitchen, they have a real, like, good tasting mayo that's made with avocado oil. So it's very healthy for you. It's an excellent source of fat. So the Max Living chicken salad is, I barbecue, a pound or 2 of chicken, slice it up in a bowl. I then add cucumbers. You can add scallions. Many times I add like a yellow or an orange bell pepper, and then the mayonnaise, and I sprinkle some lemon on, salt and pepper. And cucumber usually too. So it's super simple, very nutritious. It's a great way to get some raw vegetables in that I otherwise wouldn't normally go to. And it's, like I said, very kid friendly. They love it. So chicken salad. And for dinner, standard, I go with like a grass-fed burger or wild-caught salmon or, chicken, something like that. So I don't do a bun. Do the grass-fed burger. I might add some of the veggie ketchup. I might add a little mayo. I might add a little mustard. Now, if I'm on the core plan where I'm at now, more in maintenance, I would add in some quinoa or sweet potatoes as an example. If I was more advanced plan, like when I started out, if I'm being more strict, I'd go more to like a riced cauliflower or a mashed cauliflower. And then something like broccoli, green beans, some kind of vegetable on the side. I like to get, especially like in the, the winter, the spring where things aren't in season, I do like to get frozen vegetables because I find that, I keep them more efficiently. I find that I'm not throwing things out as much. I hate wasting food. It's not good. And getting like frozen vegetables, organic vegetables, is a great way. We also use Kerrygold Grass-fed butter is great. Add that to your quinoa, add that to your rice cauliflower. It's a great source of fat there as well. So this is a typical day, and it's very doable. Like, I feel, again, nourished. I feel full, but not stuffed. And I'm not going to bed hungry. I'm not going to bed starving. I'm eating a good amount of food. Now, as far as snacks, where I got in trouble, where I know that I was messing up and gaining weight, is I wasn't setting these rules. So you want to set some rules with snacks. Number one, and this is, I'm preaching to myself, keep your meals and snacks separate. Where I was making the mistake is we're actually pretty good at meal planning and planning ahead of time and things like that. So like, I would get home from the office, I'd be super hungry, right? I would put my, because we don't have a microwave, so I'd put my serving of food onto a plate or onto a dish, and I'd put it into the oven, and I'd set that for, say, 9 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever the case is. Now that 9 minutes for me is like the longest 9 minutes in the world, and I'm just like so hungry. So what I used to do is I'd get in the fridge and I'd start eating like crackers and hummus, and I'd start just eating snacks and food and chips and stuff like that. So I'd be eating like almost a full serving of snacks 10 seconds before I'm about to eat dinner. So I'd be eating like 300 calories of snacks and then eat dinner on top of that. So I was bloated. So you want to keep your meals and snacks separate. So you want to go breakfast. Say you have breakfast at like 7 as an example. Okay, then you have your snack at 9:30 or 10. Then you have your lunch at 12. Then you have your snack at 3. Then you have your dinner at 5 or 6. So you keep them separate. So you give your body time to burn those calories. Okay, don't eat when you should drink. I'm not talking about drinking beer or alcohol. I'm talking about water. Your body, similar pathway in your brain for hunger as it is for thirst. Most people are walking around chronically dehydrated. So the more water that you can drink throughout the day, keeping your urine slightly yellow is the best way to make sure that you're hydrated. That's going to make sure that because a lot of times you drink water, you're not going to be as hungry. Okay. Eat for fuel, not for emotional comfort. I'll talk about this in a minute. It can be difficult, but it can be done. I always looked at food as like a reward, like, oh, I had a big day, or I did this, or I had this success, therefore I'm going to eat a lot when I get home. That's something that I had to grow through. And that's where, again, giving your body time and your brain time to form those healthy habits is what's going to help you there. Here's some snack ideas. Here's my go-to. Granny Smith apples are great. They're low glycemic. I love the taste of Granny Smith apples. You can also add that in with like a hazelnut chocolate, like almond butter type of thing. Like, and they have those with low sugar, or you can do an almond butter. Protein powder and water. It might sound a little gross to some people, but especially during the middle of the day or even at night, you notice you're like really hungry. Giving yourself a little source of protein is great for sleep, and also satiating your stomach and your body. Sprouted nuts and seeds. Not really my thing as much. I don't really like nuts and seeds as much as I used to, but they are good for you. Fruits and vegetables, to snack on those. Cheese and dairy, cottage cheese as an example, yogurt, high fat, high protein yogurt, and dark chocolate. I would probably be down another 10 pounds if I didn't eat dark chocolate. I love dark chocolate. So I probably eat about one of these chocolate bars, this brand, Equal Exchange. I go for very high percentage cocoa, so very low sugar, and it tastes great. Chocolate is known to increase your dopamine levels just to bring you comfort. This is like my comfort food. So again, this is my healthy cheat. Instead of going for the sugar or the junk, I get I'll eat like a half bar of the dark chocolate at night as my dessert. And that's a great way that I'm not blowing up my weight loss goals, but I'm still living my life too. Hydration, another calculation to remember. Please, 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 half your body weight in ounces to drink. The more that you drink, you're going to be flushing your body out of the toxins, because when you start to lose weight, toxins are stored in your fat cells. So as you start to lose weight, you got to have a place for that to go. So making sure that you're flushing that out through water consumption. Now, timing of meals, I kind of just went through that, making sure you time it out. Big question that I get is, well, Dr. Greg, what about fasting? This really depends on the person, but I would suggest if you have a higher fat percentage, I would say for men, if you're over 30% percentage fat, or you're even 40%. For women, you get up into the 40 and 50%. If you've been diagnosed with diabetes, blood sugar issues, metabolic disorders, I would not recommend fasting. I would not. Now, some people are like, well, wait, all these different talks and all these different books coming out on fasting, how good it is. The idea here is you want to eat food. Your body's designed to eat food. Now, some people say, oh, your body's designed to fast, you're designed to do this. Yes, your body can withstand that. You can not eat for a few days and you would survive, yes. But your body's also designed to eat food. And for me personally, like just the other day, I believe it was yesterday, things got busy in the morning. I didn't eat till like 10:30. I did not feel good. Anytime I try intermittent fasting, this is my personal opinion. I'm not trying to disparage anyone from intermittent fasting. There are definitely benefits to it. But for me personally, I don't feel good. My energy's not there. Working out, I need to eat a little bit of food before I go exercise, just period. Even like in the morning, I'm starting to play ice hockey again, and I play Sunday mornings at 7:30 in the morning, like it's super early. I'm either eating bacon or turkey bacon and eggs, or I'm having a smoothie before I go out there. You don't want to be around me if I didn't eat. Like, that's just how my body is. That's what I'm used to. 3 meals a day, man. I wake up within the first half an hour to an hour. Well, really the first half an hour, I'm putting breakfast, I'm putting fuel in my body. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So the question becomes, when is the best time to fast? When you're sleeping. When you're sleeping. So one thing you can do is, what time is your kitchen's closed? My dad always used to say this, kids, they always want snacks late at night. He'd say, oh, kitchen's closed. So choose a cutoff time. Is it 6 o'clock? Is it 7 o'clock? The kitchen's closed. Don't eat anything else till the next day at breakfast. And then make sure that your breakfast is healthy. Because again, you can try all these biohacks. You can try fasting. You can try all these different timings. You can try the 16-8 or the 12-10 or whatever they call it. But if your habits are not there, if your meal choices are not smart, you can fast all you want. But if your breakfast is junk, you're going to be frustrated. So what I would recommend is getting into the habit of 3 meals a day, 2 snacks, and you're going to be doing great. Self-sabotage. All right. There's many people listening to this. Like, this was the first time I've ever had to lose 20 pounds. There's some of you listening to this, you've lost 20 pounds 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different times in your life. For you, the issue is not losing the weight, it's keeping it off. That's the hard part, right? And for some people, there's almost like this switch in the brain. You reach a certain level of success, you lose a certain amount of weight, and then all of a sudden, something clicks and you blow up. You like this woman here, eating a bunch of chips, drinking a bunch of beer, the wine, all this kind of stuff. I don't know what else to say other than, this is a spiritual thing. This could be even a religious thing. You have to tame the flesh. You have to say no. You have to face temptation and face that, and you have to win. And there's got to be, at some point in your life, you just got to say, it's not going to happen. And that's where, again, you got to tap into your motivation. You got to tap into what you're doing it for. You got to tap into your big why. So someone asked me recently, they said, when you really want to eat that bad food, when you want to have those chips, when you want to drink that beer, when you want to do that, what do you do? Well, first of all, again, I'm not depriving myself. I would probably reach for a healthier option. I would reach for the dark chocolate. I could have some ice cream, or I could have a little bit of brownie or something like that, but I can get a healthier version of that, right? I can get an organic version. I can get a lower sugar version, a higher fat, higher protein version. You can still enjoy the foods that you love, right? But just do it in a healthier way. And then the other thing too, if you have a night when you go out and you party or whatever, like, hey, I went up to Canada in February and I played in a hockey tournament with old friends from high school. Guess what I drank a lot of? I drank a lot of beer. I drank a lot of Canadian beer. And you know what? I had a lot of fun. It was a great time. And you know what? I went back and I stepped on the scales and I gained 4.4 pounds. But you know what? I buckled down, and in the next 2 weeks, a lot of that was just water weight, and I lost that weight. And it's okay. I got back on the horse and I did it. And you know what? I wouldn't change it for a thing. I had a ton of fun when I did that. So go have fun, go party, do what you need to do, but just get back to it, right? It's like, we don't have to sit and beat ourselves up. I could have got home and saw that I gained 4 pounds. I knew I was going to gain weight. You expect it. It's like, listen, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to enjoy my life. And then I'm going to get back to it. Just keep it simple. And cortisol, and getting into that stress eating. I don't know about you guys, but like when I get stressed or I get heightened up, I want those carbs. Why is that? Well, it's your your adrenal glands. So your adrenal glands, um, basically there's three different parts of the adrenal glands. There's the cortex, there's the middle part, there's the inner part, and they secrete different hormones that have to do with stress, that have to do with sex hormones, and have to do with sugar. So when you think of adrenal glands, you think of cortisol, you think of sex, sugar, and stress. Our biology teacher in school, she used to say people want to do three things. They want sex, sugar, and stress when they get stressed out. So again, you have to realize that your body's going to push you into that biologically. You could say spiritually, you could say a war of the flesh, you could say anything you want, but scientifically, your body's going to push you towards those three things. You have to be ready for that. You have to understand that that's a normal response of the body. The normal response of the body to stress is to eat sugar. Why? Because sugar gives you a source of energy. Well, why would your body want that source of energy? When your body's in that stress situation, it says, I want some quick energy right now. I'm going to tell them to eat sugar because sugar is the quickest source of energy. Okay. Or I'm going to tell them to seek comfort. I'm going to tell them to seek a sexual partner as an example. Right. Or I'm going to tell them to, move away from this stressful situation. So you have to realize, okay, this is how my body works. I have to understand that so I can use this knowledge for my good and realize, okay, I'm stressed right now. I need to just take a minute. I need to take a few breaths, pray, whatever you need to do, meditate, drink a glass of water. I don't know if you're me, have some dark chocolate, have some healthy treats, and just let it pass because it will pass. I know that, listen, I know that's a very simple answer. I get that, but for the purposes of this talk, I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not a psychologist. That's just where I'm at with my knowledge here. Okay, foods to avoid. These are going to be obvious, but also important. Foods containing processed carbs and sugars. So what are processed carbs and sugars? So you're looking at it, muffins, pastries, cakes, grain-based desserts, sodas. That's the quickest way to gain weight, is just to be drinking your calories. All right, foods with sugar substitutes like, the pink packs, the blue packs, the yellow packs, even a lot of the, stevia and things like that. It's, if you're finding a lot of things that there's a lot of sugar replacements in there, you probably shouldn't be eating that food to begin with, right? Because when you have things, even like stevia, and there's mixed results on stevia, right? Because stevia used to be the big thing. But when you eat something that's laden with stevia, that's not really giving you any calories or anything like that, when you have that food, like for example, you eat a brownie that's sweetened with stevia, your body is primed to receive a bunch of calories, okay? But then all of a sudden you eat this food that's kind of empty calories. There's no calories to it. There's no sugar to it. Your body just goes into this like, hey, what was that? What are you doing? And you actually get more hungry because your body feeds back like, hey, you gave me this food that didn't really give me any energy or anything. Give me more food. I want more. So it's like stevia and these replacement sugars, they're kind of like the gateway sugar into bad habits. So you want to cut these things out, especially when you first start out. Again, it's meats, it's veggies, it's fruit, okay? Meats, veggies, fruit, meats, veggies, fruit. Foods containing bad fats, again, the vegetable oils, the canola oils, soybean oils. If you see these things, put it back on the shelf. The easiest way to tell is if you're in the middle aisles of the grocery store, the preserved foods, you want to avoid those. Any type of highly processed foods, again, the packaged foods, things that can sit on the shelf for 5+ years, you want to avoid. All right, so here's some great supplements. My favorite, personal favorite, if I were to only have one supplement, it would, well, is it technically a supplement? It's more of a food. I love Max Living's Pure Path protein, the bone broth protein, the chocolate. It's so good. It tastes good enough that you can put it in water and drink it. It tastes amazing. Now, if you put it in a smoothie, or if you put in like almond milk or raw milk or organic milk, it tastes even better. Like we give that to our kids. Like we have like an organic milk, and the protein powder, we call that chocolate milk. So it's high protein, high fat. It's in the milk. It's amazing. Now, there's also the version with the whey protein from dairy. Max Greens. So micronutrients. So this is like powdered greens. So there's very low calorie, but it's going to be giving you a lot of your micronutrients, and it's going to fuel your body up for success for your metabolism. Max Fit. Listen, there's no shortcut to losing weight, but Max Fit isn't a supplement that I take that is shown to help with weight management and cortisol regulation. The main ingredient is decaffeinated green bean extract, which is shown to help you to burn fat. Also, carnitine is in there as well. And there's also a little bit of creatine as well, which is good for muscle growth for exercise. And then another one that I love is electrolyte synergy. So this is basically like a vitamin C powder, but it also has electrolytes. So it has your sodium, your potassium in a way that your body can readily process it. So think of this like a healthy version of Gatorade. Okay, so that's great for post-exercise. All right, if you want to click on our resources here, so open your phone, QR code, because a lot of you are thinking like, well, how do I get all this stuff? We have created resources for grocery lists, shopping lists, nutritional guides, recipes. It's all here. We also have tons of recipes in the office. There's books, there's resources. Please come and ask us for that help. All right, getting into exercise. Very simple. No matter the exercise you do, whether it's weightlifting, whether it's CrossFit, whether it's going for a walk around the block, the more that you're moving your body and stressing your body in a positive way, you're going to be building more muscle and you're going to be burning fat. So again, it's 80% nutrition, it's 20% exercise. So if you just think of it, if you just did the nutrition, you'd be traveling down the road at 65 miles an hour. But if you ramp up the speed by 20% through the exercise, you're going to be going 78 miles an hour. I don't know about you, but I'd rather drive at 78 miles an hour than 65 miles an hour. And it's for anybody. I mean, I could recommend, if you come to me and ask the type of exercise that you should be doing, like any body type, any age, any condition, anyone can exercise. And to say that you can't is an absolute excuse. Okay, there are you go to the gym, they have senior fit classes, they have the silver sneakers. That's for that end. Then you go and they have like the high intensity stuff, whether it's combat or body flow, or they have Pilates, or they have CrossFit. Like there's something that anybody can do. For me personally, I do power yoga because I'm bent over patients all day. My IT bands get tight, my hamstrings get tight. I've been doing power yoga at home over the last year. I feel amazing. My back's never felt better, never felt stronger. My core, it feels great to do that. I would recommend, I've developed a training regimen every Thursday at 6:30. Please come. If it continues to be low attendance, I may not continue to do it. It may not be worth it. We have a strong following of people that do come. Once the weather gets nicer, we'll move it outside. But we start with 10 minutes of power yoga, where I'm going to guide you through a different body part each week, whether it's opening up the knees, the lower back, the hamstrings, the neck. People can request, and I'll go through different stretches that you can do at home. And then we get into a 9 to 12 minute high intensity interval training. I have people come that are in their 70s. I have people come that are in their 20s. I have people come at varying athletic levels. I will guide you through, show you modifications. It's very simple. So again, every Thursday at the office, I would recommend coming about 10 minutes early to show up and get ready, about 6:20. Thursdays, 6:20. We get started around 6:30. Please come. It's great. All right. Now you're sitting here. There's someone thinking this right now. I know this. I've done this. I've seen this before. I've tried this before. This doesn't work for me. I have other concerns. Now, just so you know, I'm only talking to 5 to 10% of people right now. So most of you need to get to work. You need to start with your nutrition regimen. You need to start with your exercise regimen. Right now, I'm talking to 5%, 10% of people. I'm going to talk about our Max Metabolics program. What are we testing for? So this is a blood and urine test. We're checking for vitamin and mineral deficiencies, blood sugar imbalance, inflammation levels, oxidative stress, heavy metal toxicity, gut imbalance. So these are all things that could be holding you back. There are other layers outside of just the simple nutrition and exercise. Okay, so if you're interested in learning more about this program, we have brought more than 50 people through the program, amazing results, whether it's with weight loss, sleeping better through the night, coming off medications, depression going away, just feeling so much better overall. I'd recommend to go on the QR code here. You can also go on our YouTube page. It's an introduction video. It's about 20 minutes. where Haley goes through exactly what the program is, who would benefit from it, and going through the costs and how it works and everything like that too. It's a very simple process, our Max Metabolics program. And then the other thing too is, like, some of you do better with guided coaching. You want to be held accountable. You want someone to walk you through the process. You want someone to help you meal plan or go through a food journal and diary and things like that. That's what Haley's for. So Haley is a certified health coach. She's a Max Metabolics specialist. She's certified in these different things. So she runs the Max Metabolics program for those who are interested, but also she does do one-on-one nutrition coaching. So if you'd like to do that, to sign up for that, I'd recommend that you contact Haley. You can do it at any appointment. She's in her back office. You can check in with her during your appointments. You can send us a text to our office number, or you can email her directly, maximize.patients@gmail.com. She'll go through a free 15-minute phone or in-person nutrition consult and kind of guide you into either looking into the Max Metabolics program or scheduling an hour nutritional consult. So she would love to connect with you guys. We'd love you to use the resources that we have and the people that we have. We're here, we're on your side. We understand that it's not easy. We understand that, but we also understand it can be done. And we have the knowledge and the resources and the know-how to get you from point A to point B, just like we've done with so many people in the past. So here's your action steps, okay? These are your writer-downers. Number one, establish your big why. Get your motivation, your reason. Why do you want to do this? You want to do this for your grandkids. You want to do this because you want to golf again. You want to do this just because. I don't know. It's your motivation. Number two, again, choose your one thing. Where are you going to start? You're going to cut out refined carbs? Are you going to stop eating at 7? Are you going to do intermittent fasting or not? Like, what one thing are you going to change? What's your first domino? Next, and this is for everyone, at the very minimum, you have to add the healthy foods. You got to remove the junk. So I'd recommend is doing an audit on your pantry, an audit on your refrigerator, your cupboards in your kitchen, getting the garbage, the junk out of your house. People say, oh, I can't throw it. I can't bear to throw it away. Listen, it's called junk food for a reason. It belongs in the trash. Get rid of it, please. Get it out of your house. Remove the temptation from your house. If you were trying to quit smoking, you wouldn't have a cupboard full of cartons of cigarettes sitting right there in front of you. Then why do we have bags of chips and bagels and pretzels and all that stuff sitting right there in our house? Get rid of it, okay? Next is choose the workout routine that you want to do. If you're not sure, your local gym, there's personal trainers there. There's different senior classes. There's different activity levels for everyone. Or if you, again, you want to come to our Thursday night workouts, I can help guide you into a workout routine that I think would best suit you as well. And give it time. I would say for the majority of people, for the goals that you have, give it at least 4 months, of consistent effort, realizing that it's going to take about 2 months to make it a habit. So give it 2 months to make it a habit, another 2 months to make it work. I guarantee you will see change. Guarantee you will see change if you make the appropriate changes in your life. And then enjoy the process. You know, looking back, it's easy to just like realize that it's hard in the moment and I can focus on that. But you know what? It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. I feel more focused than I've been before. My conditioning, playing hockey again, running, and like just having the energy at the end of the day with my kids, sleeping better. For me, when I have a goal, when I'm working on something, I just feel sharper in all areas of my life, more focused, less complacent. I'm telling you, by just focusing on this for the next 4 months, it's going to help you in more ways than you can even imagine. So as I close here, if you're listening live, I'm going to open up for some questions. If you're listening in the office or you're listening later on YouTube, I recommend that you start these action steps, reach out to us for help, and we are here to help you. So I hope this has blessed you guys, and yeah, go get them.